Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Weekend Warrior Show, presented to you by MMA TORCH. I'm Rhys Lawrence, and joining me as always is Chief Editor of the Torch, Sean Covington. And in today's episode, we're going to be recapping a whole lot of combat sports action. Fury Whyte obviously taking up the main coverage, but there was also a lot of combat sports, including UFC, Bellator, and PFL as well. Little update as well on the side note, starting next week. Today, Monday's show will be changed. Me and Sean are going to be doing a new format for you guys, making the show a bit more quick hitting, a bit more to the point, and then we're going to see where it goes. But Sean, firstly, let's just get your thoughts on Fury Whyte.
Well, I told you, man. I sent you that text, a message. I was like, okay, what time is it there? And is he awake? Is he even watching it? And I was like, yeah, he's got to be watching it. What am I thinking? I was like, White's a bum. He's a bum. That's it. Like, to get knocked out like that after, I talked about, he's being quiet because he's got an ace up his sleeve. The ace up his sleeve he wasn't going to be in a damn fight that long. So he got paid, and that's the end of it. Like he didn't make it. It has to be interesting at some point. I said I wanted to see Fury lose, simply because I wanted him to have, because the interesting story is Fury. So if he loses, now it's a journey to get it all back. And
yeah,
well, he didn't lose anything. He didn't lose a round. He didn't lose any sleep. So yeah, White's a bum. I know you talked him up. That's unfortunate because now you have to eat that L, as the kids say. That's a major L. So yeah, man, I mean, White's gonna have a career after this, but how much of one? I mean, is he more of a star getting his ass knocked out, or is he just gonna go away now?
So much to get through with this. So we're saying we're gonna keep it short and sweet, but with this one we can't. I mean, yes, Sean said last week it was all to do with Tyson Fury, which a lot of people had the same idea about. I mean, in terms of not just the promotion of this fight, because it was all Fury. Whyte wasn't there, of course, until fight week and whatnot. But you're right. In the end, if you look at the fight first, maybe get onto the event second, with how good it looked, the atmosphere and whatnot, and what Fury, because he is a showman, and that's, you've seen him in WWE. He wants to crossover with Ngannou. We're going to talk about all that in a bit, but you see the showman side of him, and the actual fight wasn't perhaps, if you're going by recent memory with Fury, perhaps wasn't his most exciting performance. Not really down to him, obviously. He's just doing what he has to do. But that punch in the sixth round, that what an uppercut it was. But at the same time, a sort of first reaction to it was, damn, I didn't see that coming. I mean, the way the fight was going, Sean, it was like, this is going to be a unanimous decision.
Yeah.
Dominant performance by Fury, but nothing really to go on. It wasn't like he was dominating rounds. It was more just that he was doing a little bit more than Whyte.
Yeah, it's one of those, he's going to win because there's nothing else going on.
Yeah, and, that uppercut was perfect. I mean, it really was.
Right on the button. Got his ass up out of there. And I was like, well, I guess we got to talk about something else now.
Well, it's crazy, Sean, because, Whyte, you were saying you had your thoughts on him, and a lot of people are sort of echoing that now, considering the way he looked in the fight. Him being so below par, not nearly close to Tyson's level. But you look at Whyte's record and whatnot, and he only had his second career loss 2 fights ago. He came back and avenged it against Povetkin, but it was the same punch that knocked him out the first time. That uppercut, I mean, you take an uppercut from any heavyweight, it's going to end up in a bad spot, but it was the same motion, the same style of punch that knocked him out on Saturday as it did Povetkin. You think it's only 2 fights ago, that was only, I believe, in 2021.
Yeah, Fury knew what he was doing, man. It was right on the button. It was always coming. It was just that he could have done that. He could have did that way earlier, and we could have, sent everybody home. But then that wouldn't have made anybody happy. He wouldn't have, that the moment with Nagano wouldn't have been anything special either, because it would have been like, who cares? This is all bullshit, So
Yeah.
you got to string him along like Floyd did. Floyd let Conor McGregor stay in there a little bit longer. So,
I mean, what is your thoughts on, the performance is what it was. You were probably expecting it amongst most people that Fury was going to win this fight. You wanted perhaps a different outcome, so it made it more interesting, like you said. But judging off what you've seen, do you lean more towards that Fury's on a level of his own, or that Dillian Whyte wasn't as good as what people probably were putting up against
both.
Fury for?
It's both.
Both,
it's
yeah.
both. That's why the gap is so large, because if Dillian Whyte was as good as everybody thought, then he would have lasted longer than Deontay Wilder went a full fight with him, so to a draw, and even knocked him down considerably. I mean, we could argue about it, but he might have been knocked out. But I tell you like this, Fury wouldn't want to fight Deontay Wilder under any old circumstances, No. He wouldn't want to fight him with MMA gloves on. I'll tell you that. That's not what he would do, simply because he did get one off on him. I think it was a 2-piece, a combo, Fury got knocked down with. But yeah, two things can be true, and these two things are true. Dillian Whyte wasn't nearly as good as he should have been, I should say. And then if that would have happened in a second AJ McKee Pitbull fight, we would all have saw that coming. We're like, okay, he's not as good, So I no matter which way you slice it, he wasn't going to be good enough. And it's not that Fury's boring. It's just that it's going to become the same old, oh, that guy's the champ. Oh, nobody will dethrone him. The same way that people got upset with the New England Patriots. It's going to be the same thing. Oh, Tom Brady's a winner. He's the greatest of all time.
Too dominant.
Yeah.
Too dominant.
Who else? When someone else is going to get a turn, something like that. So.
Well, what's interesting about the outcome of this is that obviously you've seen the finish and you think, when a guy gets knocked out like that, and you were saying about Fury winning all the rounds, most people had, but obviously if you look at the judges' scorecards, I think it came out earlier today, they were not perhaps as close as what, they weren't as wide, should I say, for Fury as what people probably had it sitting at home or in bars or wherever you were at the fight. And you see the way that the punch landed and the way the fight ended with Whyte, gets up to his feet, makes the count, but then stumbles onto the ropes. The referee did a good job calling it off, but Whyte's done an interview today, and it's probably a mix of trying to find a little bit of an excuse to soften the blow of the loss, also perhaps chasing a little bit of another payday, perhaps, because he's saying that if you watch the fight back, you see the uppercut, but then you see the big push-off by Fury that pushes him back. Yeah. And Dillian's saying that push was illegal and that he should not...
Maybe. Getting knocked out is pretty legal, though. If he never got hit with that uppercut, we wouldn't be talking about the push. So he can get the hell up out of here. I'm just saying, which came first, the uppercut or the push? If you hadn't got uppercut, he didn't push you, then uppercut you. And that's exactly what I was thinking when I saw it. I was like, well, he didn't push him, then uppercut him. But I knew that push would come into play sometime.
Yeah.
I knew it would,
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because he pushes him off. And you think, I can understand where he's going with it. Fighters sometimes need to cling on to a bit of an excuse to make them feel better. Yeah. But he was already out on his feet after that uppercut, and to say that it was the push that was then made it dangerous to fall back and hit him hitting his head off the canvas. It's a pretty. I mean, we've heard some excuses. Wilder gave some for Fury. We've seen some, Sean, but that one, I don't. I think it's perhaps a a thought of, can I get a rematch here, which he's claiming to want. It's not going to happen. Fury stating quite clearly that was his last fight. The big question is, Sean, do you believe him?
No, I don't know. Why would I? Why should I? He got paid, what, $30 million for this? Damn near $30 million?
32, 33 million.
Some dumbass, I wish I remembered his name so I can make him famous, on Twitter. MMA TORCH's Twitter, by the way. So it's not just me saying this, on my own accord. This clown has something to do with MMA. He was like, "Oh, look at the difference between what Fury got paid versus Dylan Whyte." I was like, he didn't even go the whole fight. Who cares? Like, he got $7 million for getting knocked out. I mean, I'd take considerably less to get knocked out. I would. I'd take about $500,000 to get knocked out. I mean, as long as I didn't know when it was coming, but and it's a knockout attempt. Like, you can't just say, "Oh, I didn't knock you out with that."
You're gonna get knocked out. Yeah, you don't know.
You can you didn't get knocked out. It's like, nah, you're gonna pay me because you had one time to try and do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just too many paydays, too many people to get paid. Wilder might even be back in the mix.
So you don't believe him when he says it's not about money? I know where you're going because
because he might get knocked out against Ngannou. So
you think that fight happens?
Yep, and I think if he does it with MMA gloves on, he's a damn fool and is stupid. Why would you do that? First off, I'm a boxer. I'm a champion. Been one before you, and I don't lose like you lose. So you put on the big boy gloves and you fight me. I don't need to fight you. You're a bum that doesn't make money. You know what Tyson Fury does? Pushes people like bums. That was, get off me, bum. That was that type of push. Tell me it wasn't. If a bum was on you.
It was such a disrespectful push.
Yeah, it was I've had a bum, aggressively try to push up on me. Like, get off me, bum. It's like, Ngannou in the boxing world's a damn bum. Anybody, boy, you better not challenge me on this. Not you, but anybody listening, any listener, anybody thinks that Francis Ngannou is not a bum when it comes to boxing, stay out of the sport. Stay all the way out of it. Don't be a fan. Don't listen. Listen to us because we need the support. But stop watching MMA. Don't do anything but listen to us because you're wrong. And then listen to us when I tell you you're wrong. Rhys isn't saying that. I'm saying you're wrong. He's a bum. Who is he beating? And you shouldn't be able to fight a champion outright. This is what Mighty Mouse got so much heat for.
Yeah.
He was like, you can't fight me outright. You haven't even made weight yet. This is a professional business, and you will act accordingly. And nobody liked it. And it's like, no, TJ Dillashaw should be able, he should be able to test and come down and see if he can even make that weight. And guess what? He got popped for roids right after that.
That's Sean's
PEDs.
That's Sean's a stronger way of saying that this crossover boxing MMA stuff is all well and good, but having an MMA fighter go in against an elite, one of the greatest boxers ever, is just ridiculous. And
the modern age, definitely. After Klitschko is him, and then you could say Wilder. I'm okay with that. Maybe.
But it's that idea, Sean, isn't it? It's actually in ways disrespectful because it's like, the Mayweather McGregor thing was a one-off, and everyone had their opinions on that. But it's like we as perhaps more we have our allegiances to MMA. And obviously, we watch the boxing. It's great when it's thriving and whatnot. But when we see these attempts at crossovers and we're hearing it would be competitive. People today that are talking online about Fury and Ngannou and sort of saying in a way that it could be very competitive. It's again that Mayweather-McGregor, believing that McGregor could ever have beat Mayweather in a boxing. It's just two different sports, and it doesn't work. People's imagination just runs with it, and
if it was with boxing gloves on, traditional boxing gloves, Ngannou would probably die in the ring. I'm not even lying. He would die. He is nowhere near the striker that
Tyson Fury is.
Conor McGregor was. You
Oh,
know,
Conor McGregor.
yeah, no, he's not even Conor McGregor. Like
That's
we
striking
got
level, yeah. Boxing level, you mean?
yeah, man.
Skill, yeah.
Oh my
It's
god,
different level.
even as an MMA fighter, like he's not as
Yeah.
good as Conor McGregor. He's not precise. He's a lot better than what he was, but like man, if he swings for the fences one time, you know how much energy that he just expended. He's gonna be done.
It's the power. The power
yeah.
shadows the actual skill level, is what you mean as well. It's like people just think because he can knock anyone out, that means he's a good boxer, but there's a lot more to it.
A lot more. The energy in that punch, the amount of energy in his punches is energy he's going to expend, which in turn, your energy is all one bar. Your life bar, your energy, your super meter, all that's one bar. You know, like imagine fighting, you know, a fighting game like Mortal Kombat, or not Mortal Kombat, Marvel vs. Capcom, where you got an energy bar, a super meter that builds up, and then you have your energy bar. Well, in boxing or real life, for that matter, it's the same bar. So if you do a super move in the first round and it takes up half your bar, well, you only got half a bar left of energy and health. So I don't know what you're gonna do with it, but if you do that, it's likely over before it began. So if you look back and see what shots Dylan Whyte took, he was probably putting way too much. They say the term in boxing is spend his lunch money. He spent all his lunch money. You know, meaning he spent all his energy. I mean, I've been around several Golden Glove boxers, okay, former Golden Glove boxers, and the first thing they tell you is, "I'm gonna make you waste your energy, and as soon as you do it, I'm gonna tear you apart." Just like Floyd did with Conor, and that's exactly what's gonna happen. Much quicker with Francis Ngannou. He's going to say, he's going to duck those punches and go, ha ha, and laugh at him. And then he's going to knock him out immediately following that.
So we've got the Ngannou Fury possibility. We've talked about that. Myself personally, I want Fury to walk away. I want to see another fight. And it's strange because he's perhaps the number one guy that I would want to go and watch fight. That I would want to watch on television, pay to go see, pay for box.
How about on Friday Night SmackDown or in Cardiff?
So we're going to get onto that.
Okay.
We've covered the Francis Ngannou. There's the unification bout, and there's the wrestling as well. But what I mean, Sean, is I do not want to see Tyson Fury fight in a professional boxing region or whatnot again. I don't want to see him fight for undisputed. And it's more based off of not the fact that I don't want to see him potentially lose or whatnot. When a guy, we'll come back to it, especially in heavyweight boxing, heavyweight, MMA, doesn't have to be heavyweight, but just in general, when a guy is telling the media, telling his family, told Paris, his wife, before Dillian Whyte fight that the trilogy with Deontay Wilder would be his final fight, then got the call to do a fight in London, his homecoming, and he said he couldn't resist doing that. But when a guy is telling everyone around him that he's done, he doesn't want to do this anymore, get out. I don't want to see Tyson Fury if he's not totally invested in it. And I think if he goes into the Usyk or the AJ unification fight, it'll leave a cloud of doubt over my mind, and I just don't want to see a guy in there that's perhaps not. Don't get me wrong, he'd go in on the night and he'd probably win because he's just that good. But when he's got that doubt in his mind, so for me it's retirement. I would love to see, but that doesn't mean you can't see him on Friday Night SmackDown. It doesn't mean you can't see him at the pay-per-view in Cardiff in September, which I would love to see, of course. I think you would as well. So yeah, I mean, before we get to WWE, because I feel like that could be the most, if you look at the rest of this year, I think that's the most likely outcome. I don't think the Francis Ngannou fight happens this year because I don't think Francis can get out of his contract and sort that so that he can get a fight with him.
He shouldn't even been there to say that. If I'm Dana White, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
man, that's
Yeah.
your ass. If that's Dana White, I'm like, you just threw a gauntlet. Like, you just slapped me in the face with a glove and said, you want a duel.
Yeah, yeah.
So don't be surprised if nothing comes of that. And I think it could happen, but I'm just being optimistic. If I'm Dana White, I'm about to show the entire world and that UFC locker room, more importantly, who runs this place. And that's it. Like, just like that. I'm going to show you who run it, and that's it.
Yeah. You think I got a little bit of that when I was watching, when he came in the ring. He was ringside. He was there for sponsorship. He got to go through sponsorship, but he was there because it was Fury. He was weighing him up. He was looking at him. He was sizing him up. Then you knew that the interview was coming afterwards. It was on ESPN. They're building it, but how you do it, it's just like Bob Arum said yesterday or today, that I feel like the fight would be easy to make. It never is with a guy under a contract with the UFC. He can't just go and fight. And the UFC will not let
He doesn't even want to defend he doesn't even want to defend his belt for the money they pay him. So he's like, no, I'm not going to let you go get paid by somebody else and lose. If you lose, then what? I should just strip you of the title.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty funny if Dana White was like, yeah, you go fight him. Do whatever you want. And he takes that as, well, okay, cool. He was like, well, yeah, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm stripping you of the title.
Just a quick thing on that, because you bring up a good point there about, we know that the UFC will not let him go. We know that they'll do anything to keep him under contract and make his life the most difficult it has to be in order for them to get what they want. And they always do, because they've got the contracts in place. But considering the injury, Sean, for Francis, considering he wants this boxing match, do you feel that, we're going to get back onto this Fury thing in a minute, but do you feel actually that Ngannou may get stripped of his title and a John Jones versus Stipe Miocic
He's
fight?
Definitely getting stripped of his title. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. His title's gone. When I saw him in there, I was like, well, he's not going to be champion.
Yeah.
He's not. I mean, he doesn't even want to be. I mean, he fights for
He doesn't,
title.
does he?
He fights.
I don't think he
How many
wants
times
to
did he get stripped?
Mm.
Yeah, and how many times is he willing to get stripped? I mean, that's what I should say. How many times is he willing to put that title that he worked so hard for on the line? Like, I don't get it. It's like, he'll get it. I don't. He'll get it. Either you're with us or you're against us. And the machine is what makes the money, not the people, not the cogs in it. Like, people in WWE understand that now. Hey, man, we can make another John Cena. Sorry. If you think you're better than John Cena, turn around and look at The Miz. Turn around and look at The Rock. Turn around and look at the CM Punk that's not even with us anymore. They still got a UFC contract. Still got another contract out of that. Like, the machine, the logo, the WW built all of that, not the person. So if the people want to get paid more in UFC, no. Like, you're not the machine. Like, stop. They don't care who you are. They will let you leave, because the moment you're bigger than them, you control them. Hulk Hogan left. Hulk Hogan. Nobody was bigger than Hulk Hogan. So if Hulk Hogan left, whatever, man. You know what I mean? Hulk Hogan left, and then Vince McMahon bought the company. You don't run. The Rock didn't run anymore. Did you see The Rock run? No. Stone Cold run? No. John Cena run? No. They're all part of it, because you will not escape that machine. They understand the machine. Stone Cold's like in the top 10 of money earners for the merch movers for the company, and hasn't wrestled in 20 years. He's got a 20-year gap in his matches, yet. Same with Undertaker. Like, he doesn't wrestle anymore. He's retired, but he's still making money. So is The Rock. These three guys are top 10.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying.
No, I do, and you're totally right.
Nagannou's, he's just a cog
man.
in the machine.
Yeah, he's not what, and it's such a shame, because for all that we can criticize, like, what boxing skill or whatnot, the man's the since Brock, the most exciting and most, it's actually, I find it difficult to understand why the UFC find it so difficult to promote him, and it's because they don't have that relationship. That I know why. It's just that you've got literally the scariest man walking earth that they could promote in that way, and they don't, and it's a shame, and it's gonna, however it's gonna play out is we'll wait and see. But Sean, the most sort of reasonable guess I have with Tyson Fury in the next few months from what he's going to do. We don't know what, but for me, if he doesn't turn up at WrestleMania, he probably will next time. But if he doesn't turn up in Cardiff, I'd be shocked. I really would. Drew McIntyre's already building it. Already building it, and
he did bring him up. Like,
yeah, he brought him up. He brought everything up.
Tyson Fury brought him up, and he was like, "Hey, man, Drew McIntyre could get something too." And I was like, "Yo, what?" Yeah, I mean, Drew McIntyre has an appeal, man, and people don't get that. Like, I know he's overbooked. He needs to go away for a while, and that, as a matter of fact, he should go away now so that he can come back in Cardiff and be a big attraction. And he's supposed to. I think he's the one that's going to dethrone Roman Reigns, or at least he's going to give him the. He's seemingly so. That's the next Stone Cold and Rock, to be honest. I don't know if people really see that or know that, but that's the next Stone Cold and Rock. Personality wise. Well, really? Because Drew McIntyre's the badass that is going to come for the corporate machine guy. But
do you think Drew McIntyre has enough? I mean, he's Scottish. He's one of our own.
He can talk.
Do you think he's got personality enough?
Yes, I do. When it was raining night one of WrestleMania, he messed up a couple times on air because they just threw it to him because they had the delay. It was a rain delay. Straight up threw it to him immediately. He was the guy they went to. Him, of all people. They didn't go to Roman. They didn't go to anybody. They didn't go to Paul Heyman. They could have went to Paul Heyman. They didn't. Paul Heyman's right. I think Paul Heyman did actually say something. I take that back. But I think MVP might have said something too. But Drew McIntyre can be very off script and very good. Right. He is in a league of very few people. Drew McIntyre, The Miz, Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman. It's not Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn too. Kevin Owens. They're guys. There's a handful of guys that can do it, but it's not a whole lot outside of that. Everybody else needs a script. I would even be fair and say Charlotte Flair, but to a very limited degree. But she does have the ability to do it. So yes, Drew McIntyre he can do it. He's got enough pizzazz to do that. But it's not just about that. It's about that dynamic. You have the Samoan hero versus the outside badass that is looking to, that's coming for his throne and coming for his head. So that's all you need. You just need that dynamic, and I think you got it.
Well, what I was getting at was when you compare the Drew with Roman and a rivalry and personality clash like Rock and Stone Cold, it's a bit of a stretch, I think, but I understand where you're coming from with the corporate idea. What is interesting is there a better opponent for Tyson Fury in WWE right now than Drew? You can see it just fits, doesn't it?
No, it fits, and he's the one to sell it, and that's kind of weird because it's like, well, who's the heel? It has to be Tyson Fury. He came off as the heel. He has to be. He wasn't the last time, I don't think. Then again,
it's hard, Sean. Though, how is he going to be a heel in Cardiff? He's loved by the fans. Exactly. So how do you do that?
I don't know. I mean, Drew McIntyre got the show there. He was the one who went to bat for this and said, we're going to do this. Yeah. He was champion when it happened. He has a lot of pull, a lot. I really don't. I don't think people understand the pull he has. He's in a lot of ways, because you can't. There's only one Vince McMahon, so you can't replace him with one person. But you have aspects of it in Stephanie, Triple H, and Nick Khan, and Shawn Michaels. You have those four people. You have, Vince McMahon essentially, because they can run parts of it. Drew McIntyre, he has aspects of the Undertaker, as in locker room leader and friend to Vince McMahon.
Right.
And he had to go a route to do it, but Vince McMahon has always held him in high regard. Always. He always wanted to bring him back. He got fired, like Vince was like, I'm gonna let you go. But, you always got a home here, obviously. He came back, he put that title on him and had him beat his main guy. Straight up. Drew McIntyre has the most convincing victory over the most dominant individual ever in WWE. I mean, the only guy you can compare Brock to is like Hogan or Bruno.
Taker at WrestleMania, maybe.
Yeah. It's Brock has to go up there because
Brock probably is number one.
Because he beat those guys. He beat Hogan. He beat Undertaker. He beat Undertaker in the damn Hell in a Cell match. He has a winning record against the Undertaker. And the only time Undertaker really beat him was when he cheated. That's crazy to think about that, man. But Brock Lesnar has a winning record over I think he has a losing record against Kurt and Eddie Guerrero.
Goldberg.
And nobody's gonna argue over that. But Kurt, Eddie Guerrero, he still has and Goldberg.
Yeah, Goldberg, yeah.
Yeah. I think he might be tied with Seth, but I think Seth might have him, and Seth might be like 4-3 against him now.
So, I mean, I like the point you bring up about Drew there, and we're probably going to be talking about that a lot more coming up.
Brock Lesnar would be a better opponent for Tyson Fury. God. Yeah, look. Change your pants.
Can you imagine that? That's a fight that should actually be a Francis Ngannou Fury exhibition type fight. That shouldn't be headlining a WWE pay per view.
And you could do that at SummerSlam.
They could do that easy.
2 shows. 2 shows, man.
So, I mean,
that for SummerSlam. Maybe Tyson Fury talk scrap to Brock Lesnar, and there we go. We got it set.
He'd be amazing, like a full-time addition to the roster. He would never become a week-to-week, show-to-show type guy. I don't think.
Why not? He's retiring.
I don't think he is I think it's different when it's never been your like first career goal. I think these guys that are Seth and Roman now, Sammy.
Pat McAfee though. Look at Pat McAfee. Every week.
Yeah.
You got your Pat McAfees and he's rich. Pat McAfee is paid. Just like Tyson Fury, man. Hey,
you ain't wrong.
Starting to see billionaires spend that money to be in wrestling. I mean, I want to see Mark Cuban start a professional wrestling promotion. I
want to see Mark Cuban in WWE.
That would be great. I think he should buy AEW and just completely revamp that. And well, you know what? Let AEW die. But from the ashes of that, let Mark Cuban's thing grow. I don't know why he hasn't done it, but let his business grow from that. But yeah, Brock Lesnar would be a great SummerSlam opponent or a pre-Ngannou opponent. If he beats Brock Lesnar, which most likely I think he would, then you have him, oh shit, he might beat Ngannou, right? Like, so I don't know what kind of match they would have, but still.
I like that idea. I mean, most likely just to round up third on Fury, Whyte, and Tyson Fury as a whole, Sean. I mean, whether it's WWE, Ngannou, unification, retirement, what a career, what a guy, what personality. The comeback is perhaps his best achievement, and he's won every belt there is in boxing. to come back through what he's come back from, what he's done for this cut. I mean, it's hard, Sean, because I know Americans can see it. I know they can feel it with what he does, what he brings as a showman, but also as a person. And I think everyone can relate to him in a lot of ways. He doesn't look like anyone. He doesn't, he says he's a normal man, but he's 6'9", he's 270 odd pounds, and he says he looks normal. But you can see sometimes that he is a normal guy. And he's just shown so many people light in dark times and whatnot. And I just think being a breath of fresh air for the return of boxing, really.
For all the sports. Let's just be for real.
Absolutely.
All the sports, because we got a lot of prima donnas in the NBA and stuff like that, guys who don't even want to get on the court. This guy's a throwback. He's like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give you old-fashioned ass whooping. He's a throwback in a throwback sport, which makes it great. And we just don't have that a lot. Last year when I almost said Francis Ngannou. I mean Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a handful. But I can't say the name. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Some people kind of say it a little bit differently, but
yeah.
When Giannis won the ring, he said, "I did it right. I did it the right way." And there was no super teams.
Yeah.
He like the way Jordan did. He said, "I did it like Jordan. I did it the right way."
Yeah.
And they, got that one famous scene of him just sitting down
on his own.
Yeah, on his own. Everybody's celebrating around him, and only the cameraman notices that Giannis is just right there looking at what he had done. Like, man, I did it. I can't believe I just. Yeah. And that's Tyson Fury every time he goes out there.
Yeah, he had a huge, as soon as he wins, this whole team jumping up on him, and you can tell that it's a bit like, even though it's his team, it's his family, it's like he's always humble in victory. He's never lost, so he doesn't. Even just with the victories, he's just probably the perfect persona to have at the top level when you're that elite of a boxer, but also have the personality to match it. So just a win-win. He's definitely been a refreshing sight and what is a great time for heavyweight boxing. But Sean, we do have to move on because so much combat sports action happened this weekend. We won't probably get through all of it today. I imagine we'll try.
He could be heel if he went up against Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes, Tyson Fury.
Yeah, there you go. That's how you make him heel. But go ahead.
So, quick shout out. There was PFL action last Wednesday. And just wanted to give we're not really going to talk, a quick shout out to Stevie Ray, a guy that I've covered for a little while, Scottish MMA fighter. He didn't get the victory in his comeback fight, but no doubt he'll be back because we'll have another shot at qualifying for the semi-finals of PFL's tournament. Lightweight fighter, great fighter. Once UFC, Michael Johnson, his last victory in the UFC, then had a horrific knee injury that put him out for a couple of years, but he was back. He will be back again. And that was PFL, Sean, but there was Bellator.
You sure? No. Didn't you skip Jeremy Stevens? Little heathen?
Well,
yep, losing. Bum.
I was gonna
he's a bum.
tee up to you, but I mean Jeremy Stevens, we were just passing through, and Jeremy is
Take
another
a shit
loss.
On him while you pass through, please. I want you to give him the bum shove. He's giving you the bum rush. Give him the bum shove.
Jeremy Stevens fell to 28-20, getting that Andrei Arlovski record real quick. But yeah, Sean, Bellator 278 and 279 back-to-back nights. We're going to go through a little bit of a quick fire round here. We're going to test that out. That's what's going to be coming next week. More anticipated and better delivery of main events. Carmouche and Velasquez or Chris Cyborg's dominant performance on either night. Which one did you say lean more in your favor?
Cyborg, but man, I want to give a lot of props to Carmouche though.
Yeah.
Really do. For taking a bum belt. Okay.
Thoughts on Mike Beltran's very heatedly debated early stoppage of Carmouche and Velasquez. Did you think it was an early stoppage? I mean, you watch the clips back and it's one of those where it was, you could see why people could say perhaps, but when someone's got you flat out and they're just constant elbowing with no retaliation, what else does the
When
referee?
you don't get hit, man.
Yeah.
That's the boxing. That's the like. We just talked about it with Tyson Fury and Dylan Whyte. Like, oh, he shoved me. Well, you got hit first. You were knocked out first before you could. He would have never been able to shove you if you weren't unconscious. Because if you weren't unconscious, you would have put your foot back and you would have stumbled back and fell very differently. But you're a bum, so you got knocked out. Bums do bum shit. So there you go. Rapid fire. Don't get hit like a bum. You won't get knocked out like one.
Sean, Chris Cyborg is in another spot in her career where there isn't seemingly a viable contender that could perhaps give her a run for her money.
Free agent.
Kayla Harrison. Thoughts?
She would be the biggest can that Cyborg ever crushed. So she's a can, man. She fights cans, and it's like that's like my Chef Boyardee can beating up all these cans. Like who's gonna win, Chef Boyardee or Aldi brand ravioli? I want to say some really horrible stuff about her. Not like as a woman and all that. Not like despicable, but like as an athlete. Shut your mouth and fight. You did not leave where you were. Shut your mouth, make your money, and fight. Everybody can respect
making
that.
money.
Yeah, make your money. But shut up. As a matter of fact, you're going to go the way of Anthony Joshua. I see it now. She's going to talk all that shit. She's going to have the greatest and this and that. Anthony Joshua, he had that British stick up his ass. No offense. You know what I mean. He did, though.
I do know what you mean.
You don't. You know what I'm saying? But like he did. He does.
He still does. Still has that.
He has that British stick. My name's Sean Covington. I kind of got one. Let's be for real. It's where you come from. You come from. He's of good stock. I'm from good stock too. I get it. I know. But he had to stick up his ass. He lost when he clearly shouldn't have. We was like, oh, where'd that come from? Now he's a bum fighting to not get shoved by dominant champions. She will end up on the same route. I'm going to tell you why. Somebody's going to come from the UFC and actually make it and kick somebody else's ass and just light that place on fire and burn it to the ground. And they might just come from the women's division and beat the hell out of her. But she's going to end up a bum. Trust me. She is a bum, but she's going to be a rich bum. But in the fight game, she's going to be a straight up bum. Somebody's going to destroy her.
What do you think needs to happen where you're having, I'd say you're having these opinions a lot based on the fact of the Chris Cyborg, Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes for a while, although Amanda doesn't fit in that category because she's put in the body of work. She's fought the best of the best at the time that was around her.
Knocked out Cyborg. She's in a league of her own.
She's in the greatest of all time. But what I mean is that even Amanda for a while was criticised because, especially at featherweight, there was no contenders. There was no one even close to the level. And wins, sometimes when you're that dominant, a win against a certain opponent is almost, in a way, a bad thing for the person.
She was unfairly criticized, man. Like, she beat every champ before her. That's not like the competition naturally is going to fall. She fought ex-champion after former champion after former champion.
She doesn't.
Like 10 straight former champions. Like, it was ridiculous. And then the competition fell off. So she was unfairly criticized.
Yeah, she doesn't fit. I'm tying her in because she was criticized at a point, even recently before the Pena loss, where people are going, you're not fighting anyone good. It makes you look better than you are, which there was a small amount of people, because people like us, you cannot not recognize how great she is. But Cyborg, Kayla Harrison, who's just going to wipe the floor with her opponents in PFL. Cyborg,
Until
who's going
somebody wises up to her. Somebody's gonna knock her out, bro. This is the fight game. Somebody's
Sure,
gonna have a
sure.
good defense and knock her out. It's gonna
I
happen.
mean, kind of
Somebody's
want to
gonna be
see that.
mad and be on fire. She might get an ex Bellator or somebody and bow, boom. Julia Budd. You think she
We
beats
need to
her?
see that, though. We do need to see that because
Oh, we
if it
gonna
just,
see it. We
Mm,
gonna see it.
I
Julia
like
Budd.
that.
Does Julia Budd knock her out? I think Julia Budd cuts like she cuts a promo on her afterwards too. Like, here's the thing: Julia Budd has the whole thing. They talk about her mental acumen, and is she tough enough for this?
Yeah.
She's gonna be tough enough when she whoop her ass. I'm gonna tell you that.
Well, we're going to
By the
see.
way, Julia Budd's going to PFL. There you go. I just broke
Yeah.
that. Breaking news. That's a prediction.
Her sources to Sean Covington.
That's a spoiler, not a prediction. Sorry.
It's interesting where they go because it's not interesting watching because it's too dominant. So where they go with it, I don't know. But I like your optimism of someone, a rising challenger.
Real quick, Scott Coker this weekend said, "Hey, send me an email, give me a call. Stop the kid stuff on Twitter and social media because that's not how these deals actually even happen. Like you just can't talk and bark so loud that something happens. You need to literally call me and get in touch with the right people and start to break down certain things that need to be removed and certain things that need to be put in place to make a real contractual agreement, not the stupid bullshit you're doing just running your mouth. So she needs to shut up and fight. Seriously. He said in a very nice, professional way, shut up and pick up a phone or send an email. Do not approach me that way, and it's unprofessional. Glad he did that because somebody needed
to. Man. Scott Coker is the man. Final recap before we just go into general talking about Sean. UFC Vegas 52 card was, listen, all combat sports action this weekend was shadowed by Fury Whyte. It was always going to be. I was surprised that they didn't line up their schedules and take the week off, most of them.
I think they capitalized on it, though. Like, I think that's a good way to capitalize on it because I watched a great deal of it. Like, I watched a high percentage of it, and I thought I was going to miss most of it. It was my wife's birthday this weekend, but, whatever. She
Happy birthday.
I gave her a baby. She's good enough. She's fine. I gave her a baby.
Ain't no presents. Ain't no more presents needed. UFC Vegas 52 headlined by Andrade and Amanda Lemos. On paper, before you read, it's one of those cards where it gets heavily criticised, doesn't it, Sean, because of the lack of names. But as we all know, that's perhaps a casual view. That's perhaps not realising that the majority of cards that don't have the name power deliver. And this one had a lot of stoppages, a lot of fun fights.
It definitely delivered, man. That's the thing. Like, we all talk about, we talk about it all the time on the show about, oh, this card's going to be weak or that card's going to be strong. And like a lot of the strong name cards, like they just don't do as well. Too much pressure. That's something that's why they're not on Fox.
Yeah.
That's why they can't have a Fox type deal because it's too much pressure. If you sell that to Fox and you go, what the hell, man? Now, Fox had some good fights on there. They had Karate Hottie on there. They've had Paige Van Zant. They've had I think Cormier was one of those cards. Shevchenko. Home was on there. Like that was the main event on Fox. So it's just that you can't sell them a card like this. You should be able to because this, it was a good card. But like,
it was.
It's really unfortunate that we even got to go through that sort of nonsense. But until it's a lot better, we're gonna keep getting that. But like very few decisions. Like you were saying, like just all types of like stoppages and stuff like that. We had a few cancellations too, to be fair. And that's gonna happen nowadays. And I think they need to stack cards a lot more than what they do. They probably need an extra 3 to 5 fights on the cards. Bump them up. Fights are getting canceled. This ain't the first one with canceled fights. Like they getting canceled out of nowhere. I did not see the Macy Barber fight against. All of this is pissing me off because I just saw that because I was trying to refresh my memory and I saw the Macy Barber fight and it went to decision. That was the only one that was a decision, right?
Yeah,
You see all of these, and then this Macy Barber was a decision. And she was fighting a bum that didn't deserve her spot at 40th it was like 15th or something. Remember, I was just talking about this with Molly, Meatball Molly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just not okay with that.
Well, Sean, we'll get on to the main event in a minute, but just your thoughts. I mean, we're looking at the card here, and just memory serves me right. Jordan Wright with another loss. Jordan Wright's he's one of those guys that, the Chris Curtis fight, he was a heavy favourite. He usually is a heavy favourite going into the fights. He's quite he's dominant in ways against the guys he fights without actually, being wrestle heavy or whatnot. It's just that people think he's got a lot of skill and whatnot, and that's, I believe, back-to-back losses now for him. Surprised that he wasn't able to get the victory this time. I mean, Chris Curtis, when he knocked him out, it was a little bit of a shock, even though Chris was on a good roll. When he knocked out Phil Hawes in the November showing, which was crazy, probably riding that momentum and it took him through. But yeah, because he probably, Clay Guida as well, a name that you stand out to the card. But I just seen Jordan Wright and thought that was surprising to me.
Submission, right?
Yeah, guillotine choke.
Yeah. And a guillotine choke is that is the cousin of the rear naked. You make a mistake, you should be able to get out of that mistake though.
Yeah.
Like the rear naked is definitely not all submissions are going to be based off of mistakes you make. Some are just going to be flat out submissions. Like some guillotines are. Some guillotines is like, well, you didn't make a mistake, I'm just going to choke you. Pitbull, he'll just choke you out of nowhere. His guillotines are not a mistake you make. It's you just being submitted because he wants to do so. And that, that's where you got to clean up your MMA. If you're losing via guillotine, you got to be looking at what you did, because unless a guy's just super aggressive like Pitbull or AJ McKee, you probably shouldn't be losing to a guillotine, because it burns out your arms. It's a very big risk to do that. Way less of a risk with a rear naked choke, right? Because you're in a position where you're resting and the person has to fight you off. And you're just fighting for position the whole time. Guillotine will burn your arms out completely. So that means that person was confident enough in the mistake you made to just choke you. And not only are they confident enough in the mistake you made, but they're confident enough that you can't recover from it. So you're completely out of place when you do it. Sometimes people just kind of go for it, just guessing, and that's fine too. But because there's a risk reward. But he needs to go back to the drawing board. A lot of these guys do. Going back to the drawing board is a good thing. Even though Macy Barber got a decision, she might want to go back to the drawing board too. She beat somebody who's 12-7, or was 11-6 then?
Good point.
Not a great. That's not a great showing. Macy Barber's the next. She's got that it factor that they want. I don't know what the hell that is, but if she wants to be the person, if she's looking to be the person that they're trying to invest in, she needs to go back to the drawing board and become dominant.
One last thing before the main event was very early prelim fight. Dean Barry disqualification. It was a nut shot. It was then an eye gouge. It was horrendous, to be honest, watching. Just the way it was unfolding. and Mike Jackson gets the win, obviously via disqualification. You've seen the pain he was in when he got kicked to start with, shouting out loud. It was at the apex, so you could hear everything. Then gets a eye gouge, stops the fight. Can't continue. Dean Barry with some interesting comments on this all, Sean. I want to bring it up because we're seeing a lot more eye
Bring up his
pokes.
comments for the people if you can.
Yeah, I'm just going to read them out. But it's just interesting. We're getting a lot more eye pokes recently. This kick to the cup, but
the John Jones School of Fighting, nothing but eye gouges. The Three Stooges rule.
So Dean Barry, he tweeted with a video of him speaking about the fight, and basically was saying that he felt that his opponent Mike Jackson took the easy way out, quit.
Yes.
He didn't want to fight. He didn't want to even try and continue.
He looked fine afterwards, and that was one of his points too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a case that, if you get kicked that hard, which he did, and then you get poked in the way he did, you can't sit there and then, if you're on the receiving, because Dean Barry's saying this, but he wasn't on the receiving end, he doesn't know, and he's saying this and then I understand because he gets the loss, but it was a result of his actions, so there's an argument for both. Where do you lie on it? Because we're seeing so much more of this eye poke. We're seeing much more of this dirty.
He did it. There's a lot of instances in which it doesn't happen because those people are better trained. They control themselves better. That's all it is. Control yourself. Corey Anderson, right? We just saw him do it. Control your head, man. The hell are you doing? Move your head back. I guarantee you, there are people in these camps and in these gyms saying, move your damn head back before you headbutt him. You headbutt him, this is all over. You can no longer train. It's all done. You'll screw it up on a errant head movement, So cut it out. I tell you who, if I fought Volkanovski, I'd likely end up headbutting him by mistake, or he did headbutt me by mistake. He's got a big ass head, and I don't know how people haven't been headbutted before. Maybe that's something he's actually doing and we don't see, and that's how he's winning. He's headbutting the shit out of people, but I'm joking a little bit. But I'm just saying, like, you got to keep your movements clean. If you eye poke someone, was it a clean movement? Nope. John Jones, unorthodox, or just sloppy, because he fouls a lot. People might not want to hear it, but I got to bring out receipts. Like that guy commits a ton of fouls, and those particular fouls are sloppy things that he shouldn't be doing. That one fight that he lost, what was he doing? Being a sloppy fighter. You know the rules, don't do it. Jeremy Stevens could have been DQ'd in the very last seconds of his PFL fight because he threw an elbow. Not supposed to throw elbows. They're illegal in PFL.
Yeah.
So guess what? Either learn the rules and play by them or don't play the game. That's how it is. You can't say, man, I didn't know I was going to get this drunk. It's okay that I was driving drunk. It's like, well, you killed somebody on accident. Yeah, but I didn't know I was going to get that drunk. It's okay. It's not okay. They have rules against stuff like that. Even though you're going to get drunk, you need to control your actions. You cannot get drunk and have carte blanche to do anything it is that you want to do. You can't put on MMA gloves and say, I could just start swinging elbows in PFL. No, you cannot. The rules clean up your striking. Glad he lost. And yes, Mike did take the easy way out. But at that point, do you continue and do you take the L? You know what I mean? You got to protect yourself at all times. And that's how you do it. They give you an out. It's like, well, he kicked you in the nuts and poked you in the eye. If you can't continue, you can't continue. It's due to no fault of your own. It's unfortunate, and it might make you look weak, but that's sometimes what you got to do.
100% agree. it was unfortunate. It's early prelims, perhaps not a big talking point, but it is when you see such fallout from it. I suppose it was not the way a fight should be ended. A fight is the way a street fight ends, Sean, isn't it? But it's not way inside the cage.
Plenty of street fights ended with kicks in the nuts and eye gouges. Yeah, that's a guillotine or a rear naked.
Yeah. Let's just go to the main event and then we'll just open it up to some of the big talking points. But obviously, Amanda Lemos, Jessica Andrade isn't perhaps what the fans, the casual fan wants to see. But it is interesting because you've got Amanda, who's number 10 ranked in the strawweight division, a win against, Jessica Andrade coming back down from flyweight, puts her in good stead. It put her right back up. Obviously, it doesn't get her in the rankings because Jessica Andrade wasn't ranked for this fight because she was moving down again. But
right.
You win against Jessica Andrade, you're right in the mix because she obviously didn't, and now Jessica Andrade gets that push. I believe, we're in an interesting spot, Sean, because Rose and Esparza are fighting for the title in just over a month, less than a month actually. You then have Weili Zhang.
Let's go Esparza. Come on, let's go.
Ooh, I like that. We're going to talk about our picks in a little bit, but Weili and Joanna booked again for a second fight. You would imagine that the winners of each would fight each other for the title later on, and then you have Jessica Andrade, you've got Marina Rodriguez, you've got Mackenzie Dern there.
Yeah, you got a good division.
This division's stacked. It's the best division, best female division they've got, and it's the most deepest it's ever been since it was brought in. Your thoughts on Andrade, because obviously it's not like it's fresh blood. It's a woman that's, let's be honest, got smoked by Weili Zhang, got pieced up by Rose in the second fight, and I was piecing her up in the first fight until she got slapped.
Yeah. See, that's the thing though. That's a great part about it. She fights a little scared, a little apprehensive. Like, she has that UFC thing, like, oh, I got a couple rounds to start. Like, what? No, like, get in there and kill this person before, you got to act like that person's Godzilla or some sort of monster that's ready to destroy a town, and you got to, you're the only one that can stop them. That's how you need to approach fights, and she doesn't. She's a cowboy in a way, a slow starter and just, but just like cowboy, someone you could depend on to put in a big fight. Won't win title fights necessarily, but like still, she's got one over cowboy. In fact that she won. We could say that slam was accident, but it wasn't. She went over there, picked her up, and slammed her on her head and won a title. That's how you win titles. You can win them like that. It was all legal. It all looked great. It was phenomenal to me. And, she had her moment to shine because if she didn't have a title defense, I know, I get it. But that's okay because she's a wild card that you got to sit on. She can't just go. You just can't book her again for a title fight regardless. You have to wait. Someone's going to pull out or get hurt. For whatever reason, someone might not be able to go. Boom, Jessica Andrade right there. And you could say, well, okay, she only got that fight because of this and that. So if she loses, you still can give her a little bit of time to get back to that point and give her a title shot she earns again, legitimately on her own as not, as someone not being a replacement, because she might fight for an interim title and be an interim champ soon. That's a possibility. It's UFC. We could see that, and let's say she loses the belt coming back. Well, she was an interim champ. Cool. She can earn her way back to a shot. Cyril Gane is going to be in a title shot again. So he's still in the title picture. Just lost it. Who's he going to fight? Because guess what? Ngannou probably won't have that belt for long. It's got to be. He's going to get stripped. Then what? You're going to have him fight John Jones? I mean, he would tear John Jones to pieces, man. To pieces. In fact, Ngannou can't fight. He can't fight John Jones. I don't get all in that because John Jones ain't fighting nobody, man. I don't know what you mentioned him and Stipe. Bullshit. It's not happening, man. Sorry, but Andrade, wild card, stay on her. She's a Conor McGregor. She's in a position where you can put her anywhere and she'll do just fine. Is what I mean. Especially if you need like a contender, somebody who can actually contend out of nowhere, she would be the one I'd call.
I like that. I mean, you wouldn't put her in front of likes of Weili Zhang or Joanna right now in terms of other contenders, and it's not a done deal that Carla Esparza doesn't shake up the world essentially, which Rose Namajunas has been doing, and Carla Esparza gets the second win against Rose in her career. I mean, it could all change with a win against Carla. I think if Rose was to beat Carla, and then you've got the winner of Weili Zhang and Joanna, Rose is then fighting someone that she fought perhaps for a trilogy each. You could have she's fought Weili twice, Joanna twice, and Jessica Andrade twice, so she could have 3 trilogies on the go should she win this fight. But Carla Esparza could take all that out with the one win. I think it's May 11th, I want to believe, UFC 274 coming soon. But I mean, Sean, that's pretty much all the recap. So much combat sports action. It's hard to get through all of it.
It was a ton. It was like 4 actual events,
and that's
maybe 5.
Really mentioned WWE, with what they've got going on as well. But just real quick, Sean, I just want to get your thoughts on a few things really, and then obviously we'll start to end things with a bit of a preview to this next weekend's action. But Ben Rothwell signs a deal with Bare Knuckle FC after being released from the UFC. Thoughts on that? Ben Rothwell's quite a lively character. One of those polarizing figures, I believe, in MMA, where not a lot of people like him. Some people like watching him fight. You think it's a good thing that you get? I mean, he's a mammoth of a human being to go over to Bare Knuckle. You can see the appeal of why Bare Knuckle would want to get involved with it, but I mean, we're never going to get past this. Former UFC goes to Bare Knuckle, former UFC goes to
Paige Van Zandt went there and got her ass whooped.
Paige Van Zandt not in AEW?
No, she went to Bare Knuckle right before that.
Yeah. But is she in
AEW
now? Is she?
Yeah, she's in there. She's put more eyes on them. She's gotten more eyes on them out. Period. Nobody's been talked about like that. But I mean, CM Punk. That's it. That's the only other person. He's former WWE, so he doesn't count. Former UFC too. Actually, that does count. See, that's the problem. 2 former UFC people.
MJF not in that mix?
No, not really.
No.
Yeah, people talk to him.
What do you think of him?
He's gonna get. He needs to learn how to do it well enough to. He needs to be the Miz instead of, because he's very vulgar. He's very crass. It's not delightful.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, if he were an English gentleman and he did the same thing, it'd be great. Right. Because he's
William Regal.
Tyson Fury does it. He needs to be tight. He doesn't need to talk in the way Tyson Fury does. He needs to learn when to be clean and just say mean things in a way that isn't so crass. And when to break character. And there is times you absolutely need to do it, and you better do it. Can he be a Make-A-Wish guy? Can you put him in a Make-A-Wish thing and he not say something stupid? Because the first time he does something stupid like that, he's gone. He's not bigger than a machine, but he could do Make-A-Wish appearances, and they paying him. Let's say he gets paid $5,000 per visit. That could be a lot of money, man. You do 20 visits, so that's quite a bit of money. Like that's 20 visits in the course of the year, that's another extra $100,000. You know what I'm saying? Probably tax free, or tax write off, whatever. I don't know. However you do it. MJF is the type that would mess some money up like that. And I don't know if he's professional enough to not do the stupid things that would mess his money up. He did an interview discussing his contract with Tony Khan. He not an interview with Tony Khan.
Ariel Helwani did one with.
Yeah. He did that interview, and he signed an NDA because everybody who goes over there signs an NDA. It's not a public company, people. You should be very wary about that and their dealings and what they tell you not to say. Because if you sign an NDA, you're gonna see some shit you want to tell somebody and cannot. Trust me on that. In such a certain type of company, I'll make you sign an NDA. But I'm not doing goofy stuff that involves the human body and a bunch of different personalities and stuff. You know what I mean? It's very different. The reason I make people sign an NDA for my consulting company, my firm, is because I'm gonna be talking about shit that that's going on, and you're gonna overhear it, and it's an intellectual property that's in flux. It's in a state of flux. So it's still being discussed. It's still a brainchild. It's still in development. So it's a natural process. And that might be why, AEW does that as well. It could be the same concept. But for that very reason, the fact that he can break an NDA, I don't trust him. So I think he's cool. I think he's great. But I can't trust him. I wouldn't sign him.
Yeah. Well, just brought that up really because obviously there is a lot of signings going on. I think free agency, like you said earlier, hinting at where there's a lot of guys and girls moving about. Bring up Ben Rothwell, sort of like an interesting one. The Paige Van Zandt to AEW is an interesting. We've seen Jorge Masvidal get involved there. But we sort of. I don't really believe that won't be too much waiting in the Ben Rothwell to bare knuckle. I brought it up mainly because of it was bringing up a larger conversation of you feel that we're going to see more MMA guys and girls transition to pro wrestling in the next year or two, especially if you've got the highest guys like Tyson Fury perhaps going there.
Absolutely. Here's the thing: you already know exactly what to do. If you're a mixed martial artist, or if you're just an athlete, period, you already know what it's like to get hurt. You've seen it over and over. You grew up in this, so you know exactly how to mimic all of it. So you can sell any single thing that happens. So it's suited best for you. And you don't actually, you're taking the bump, but taking a bump is not a running back, an NFL running back taking a tackle. Very different. If you're a running back, you'd much rather take the bump than the tackle. It's not saying that wrestling's easy. It's
the bumps hurt. The bumps hurt.
Yeah. You could take you could tear something in that. You could tear something in that tackle or get something torn, and once that happens, you're probably done. Not that it's career ending, but you're not going to get the same paychecks.
It's far more consequential than a bump in wrestling injury because
in wrestling, you got to put more time into it, but you get to have more fun. You're a face. You're on TV. You can do a lot more different interactions. It's way different career, and I think it's a lot of people are best suited for it. I think if you're Cain Velasquez, right? You wish you had WWE on your side so that you could get some help getting the hell up out of this, But
sad story going on. Still.
Yeah, I mean, what he did was in defense of someone. But
there's a valid and very people see the reasoning. Easily with it.
It's unfortunate because it was a reaction. It never had to happen. There are ways and things you got to do, man. I tell people, I'm like, you can't do that because you're gonna lose way more. You still got your freedom. As long as you're free, you can do a lot of things that you can't do when you're behind bars. if you so his platform's better if he's speaking about what's happening right now. Like if he could speak on all of it to us directly, day to day, and never made that action, way more impactful than the action he took. So I get it. And people are like, well, what would you do if I just told you? I can't. I have 5 children. If something happens to one of them, particularly that, people are like, I'm gonna go kill. I'm like, okay, you're gonna end up in jail.
Yeah.
You're going to jail if you kill somebody. That's malice. That's murder. That's unfortunate. But all of those things are true. It's unfortunate. It's malice. It's murder. Can't do it. But my point is, he was in WWE. He was in AAA. He was great for what they needed too. I wish he had worked with Dominic. I wish he had stayed. I wish they could have kept him. I hope people are willing to go in for the cheap and make a career out of it when they do it, because this could be a phenomenal career for a lot of people, as we're finding out with the NIL program with I think it's next in line with Triple H being the head of talent, getting talent for that. Anybody from any walk of life, anywhere, can come in and do this, and they're getting athletes now. This is going to start to be like the NFL draft, where not everybody's going to make the cut. It's already like that. They just don't tell you that,
Yeah.
It's one team. It's WWE. They're going to have a crop of people, but they're going to churn you out. You're not going to make the cut forever if you don't know what you're doing. And that's tough, man. Go make it somewhere else. Look at Cody Rhodes. He didn't like it. He left, came back. He likes it now.
Yeah, he's back.
So, you're going to see a lot of people. People, not just going to see, people have already started the mass exodus from, no, I'm not going to the league to make whatever money and maybe not be on a team, or I'm behind Kevin Durant on the Nets, or no, I'm sorry, I'm behind their 18th All-Star on the the Nets. I'm on injury reserve with the Nets.
Well, they're terrible right now. They ain't playing like they got 18 All-Star shots.
They're getting swept tonight, hopefully. Oh my God.
Yeah, they probably will. We're going to talk about that off air. But I like your points about the crossover. My feeling is that there's more emphasis that MMA guys and girls will cross over into pro wrestling. It won't be the other way around, because I feel like that CM Punk fiasco will leave a bad taste in pro wrestlers' mouths to go and try it.
Yes. He messed it up for everybody, man.
Yeah, he wasn't a good blueprint to leave.
He's Brock. Look. Here's the crazy part. Brock opened that door. Brock Lesnar opened that door.
In a way, it was
not. I mean, he wasn't the only one to walk through it.
Just from the wrestling pedigree he already had. Right. He was an incredible wrestler.
Yeah, he opened the door for the superstar wrestler to go straight into UFC. Right. He walked through. Bobby Lashley, Batista, they did it very differently. Very differently. CM Punk cut the line. He jumped the line. And got his ass
went right into the wheels and the lines then, which I still to this day can't believe. But anyway.
A lot of people give him credit for that, but he deserves a credit for leaving that horrible taste in people's mouths and making professional wrestling look bad for that. Even though we got Brock Lesnar, the latest person to do it was CM Punk. So we look back at what have you done for me lately. So unfortunately, we don't even get to Brock Lesnar. It's just that, oh, look at his bum CM Punk. He got bum shoved.
Well, it's interesting because, it's MMA and it's pro wrestling, but you got Tyson Fury. But we don't see boxing play a part in this, and it's interesting because I feel like there's an avenue there, but we do have boxing this weekend, Sean. I'm going to preview and then sort of end our show here. It's been a good show, but Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor, one's been promoted by Jake Paul, one's been promoted by Eddie Hearn. You're going to see it fight week. It's going to be fun, which starts today, obviously. Jake Paul, a massive influence in the build-up to this fight, a massive part to Amanda Serrano's profile. 18 months ago, many people didn't know how good Amanda Serrano was, didn't even know who she was actually. Katie Taylor, big name in the UK, sort of made a little bit of noise in the US. Not huge, but the combination of both with the promoters behind them and what's at stake, how good they are, it makes for what an incredible main event it is. It's at MSG. It's the biggest female fight in boxing. I don't really want a prediction from you, Sean. I just like want your thoughts on. Do you echo what I think of how big of a role Jake Paul and Eddie Hearn? I mean, they're promoters. That's what they're there to do. But if they weren't involved with this fight, would we be talking about this fight in the way that we are on Fight Week?
No, not at all. Not even close. But the best part is the most important question, and the best part is, will it open a door, and who walks through it next?
Yeah.
That's where it is, because we can say what we want about Hearn and Paul. If they can't open this door with this, who cares?
Sure.
And they're not, because they got to be held accountable too. Then they're not nearly as good as their job as they thought they were. And because it's those two, it has to open a door or they failed. And that's okay to say, because, well, in failure there can be, you can rise from failure. From the ashes of one thing can be, the start of another. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if it didn't open doors, because they would just find out how to open that door that they were trying to open. A real forbidden door, not somebody they've been working with for ages and then they announce it as if they never worked with them before. Yeah, I like to take shots at AEW too. This is probably the most credible conversation that they get all week.
It's interesting as well. We're talking about the fight. It's going to probably be a really good fight considering both of their styles, their personalities as well. It's like both quite quiet, let the boxing speak for itself, but then you've got the two big names of promotion behind them doing all the talking, perhaps for them.
Perfect.
Which is good.
It's exactly the way it's supposed to go. Exactly the way it's supposed to go.
I like that.
Especially in boxing. That's how it happens.
Sean, what?
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it, sort of skipped over it, but Tommy Fury fought on the Tyson Fury card. He got a win. It was a 6-round fight. It was against a guy that was finally with pretty much a positive record. Didn't really pose much of a threat to Tommy. And then Tommy gets on the mic afterwards, and, we all thought it was going to be a call out to Jake Paul. It was. Jake Paul came back quite strongly. There was a good, he's a master of this. This is what he does. Saying that, it wasn't 94,000 people when you were in, and he was saying something along the lines of, when you fight, no one's in attendance. When I fight, I sell out the arena. Along the lines of, we're going to get the fight on and whatnot. I don't expect Jake Paul to put anything about him this fight week, because he recognises the greatness of Serrano and he's quite good with that. He's quite respectful and whatnot. But are you hopeful? Are you not wanting to see this Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight? Do you still think it's viable? I personally, for me, I think I actually still don't know who's better, and I would like to see the fight.
Jake Paul isn't as good as him, probably. I mean, we got to be for real about it. I feel like Tommy Fury's not taking it nearly as seriously as he should. I
only say that I don't know who's better is because I obviously lean towards Tommy more because he's a professional boxer, but in the sense that, let's be honest, look at the competition level. We're just judging off. We're not seen enough to have a fully committed answer.
True, because we haven't seen Jake Paul just go out and just say, just give you all he had. So,
if you had to pick,
Tommy. But that's the problem. I don't want to pick him. I don't, and that makes it not fun. That really doesn't make it fun, because if Jake Paul wins, oh my God, Tyson Fury might have to take him out, and that's great, but nobody it needs to keep building. And I honestly don't know exactly what Jake Paul wants. He plays both sides of field. And the reason for that is because he's actually going for something. I just can't pinpoint what it is. He said he wants great fighter pay. That could very well be true. Someone's going to move out of position and he's going to move into it. And that's going to be when we know that he was trying to do what he was trying to do all along. But I don't know what he's trying to do. And I don't think fighting Tommy Fury actually accomplishes that, you know?
Sure.
So I don't see it happening. And I don't see it. If he loses, then what? If he wins, what happens? If he loses, what happens? Like, I don't know what happens either way. So the mystery in Jake Paul is, what are you up to? What are you masterminding behind the scenes? Will you get the Ngannou and Fury fight set up? I feel like that's where we get the Fury and Paul fight set up. He might say, fight Ngannou and I'll fight I fight Tommy. So that's what he might want. I don't know. You got to be, he's tricking someone into something and I don't know what it is. I know it's good. I just don't know what exactly it is. You know, he's not showing his full hand, or he told us outright, and he's just being so erratic that we can't tell.
Well, it's going to be interesting this fight week anyway. I don't think we're going to hear much about Tommy Fury, Jake Paul. It's going to be all about Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor. Also the same night, Sean, we've got Rob Font and Marlon Vera. A much, on paper, if you look at comparison to last weekend's UFC main event, you would argue that this one should be better. But, sometimes that doesn't actually happen. The names are perhaps more well regarded. What's your thoughts on Marlon Vera, Sean? Because we know what we get with Rob Font. Doesn't really speak too often. Top guy, top contender, coming off.
Same thing I do with Rob Font, actually. I mean,
really?
Everything you about this, yeah. Same thing you say with about Rob Font. I don't say about Marlon Vera.
I don't think he's as quiet. I think
but still old reliable. They're old reliables, top-ish guys. Not showstoppers, but you gotta have them. Like, they're great. Not filler, but you got to have them on a really good card. If you're selling me on a card, put them at co-main event of the prelims, right? Or maybe if it's a good fight and they're third, if it's a good card, they're third from the top on the prelims, right? Now that's not a bad spot at all if it's like a John Jones card, right? That's what I'm saying. So they're in a great position, yet very awkward for them. Because they're on a fight night, they're not at a UFC 280, or something like that. They're on a fight night, so it's unfortunate that they can't main event a UFC event, another UFC event. But I mean, they're still a main event in a fight night, which does count towards what they're doing. So, I'm probably gonna say Rob Font in this one, to be honest.
It'll be an interesting.
Vera's gonna talk himself out of winning. He's gonna talk Rob Font into kicking his ass.
Into beating him up. Big sort of a big moment for both, because I think both need the win. Marlon, the Frankie Edgar performance was a notable one, but it doesn't really push him closer to what I think he wants. Obviously you got the Sean O'Malley thing as well, but for me, I get the sense that Marlon's more focused on the title shot and whatnot, rather than beating Frankie Edgar, who's a legend, and then Rob Font, and then perhaps you don't beat Rob Font and Frankie Edgar and then go and fight Sean O'Malley, who's below that, who's
exactly.
It doesn't make sense. So for me, it seems like he's going to go for the title shot if he can get this win.
Get that belt and then let Sean O'Malley have it again. Beat him up, because that's what they're gonna put O'Malley. But
you'd be a fan for Marlon Vera if he was facing O'Malley, wouldn't you, Sean?
Huh?
Yeah. Say, yeah.
Well, okay. Well, it's nothing against Vera. I just think that some people you could talk into being different, and I think if you talk too much to Rob Font, that he'll be dangerous to you. You know, He's one of those guys that I just get the feeling that he's dangerous if you talk him into it. And I feel like Vera just might talk him into it. And but yeah, I mean, if Vera goes on to win, he gets the title somehow. I don't see him doing that, but say he does. O'Malley's right around the corner. Presumably, he has to win still, which I don't know. You can just make a case that O'Malley would get a title shot.
You wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, well, because like I say all the time, somebody's one injury or pull out away from, COVID or anything can happen. And then there you go. It just one guy could already have a fight that you would have put in there and he can't get out of that fight for whatever reason, or he just had it. And now you got to put someone else in there. And O'Malley is the guy you have to put in there. With the history, you could get away with it. So perfectly okay with that. And, maybe if O'Malley's that guy, he gets the title. It's a win-win. I don't like Sean O'Malley, but that's exactly how I would book it because I'm trying to make money and it would be stupid for me to just say, I don't like you. So no, this is exactly what Sean O'Malley needs to be and wants to be. And Vera's the key to that. So if he loses, he's tied directly to Sean O'Malley. He loses, that's it. There's no one at the top that he has history with. You know what I mean? That's nothing. It's a nothing burger.
Well, we're going to see how it plays out. Also on the card, another one of Sean's favourite, Andrei Arlovski.
Yeah.
Making a late push for
co-main event.
Perhaps not another title run in him, but perhaps a chance to get in the top 15. He's three in a row now. Another one here. I don't know. It's just like for guys that he's won the title. He's a veteran of the game. Perhaps chasing a bit of money, but perhaps like a Condit, Matt Brown. Just sort of pushing the boundaries of how long you can keep doing it and keep winning in the UFC. Probably going for some records. Are you expecting anything, or are you just another typical Andrei Arlovski performance?
Man, if he was in PFL, do you know how exciting it would
Sean,
be?
Be respectful.
No, I am. I almost wasn't. I was like, whatever. Just let's go on from him. If he was in PFL, he'd be getting money, and we'd be like, man, good for him, right?
He'd be headlining main event. He'd have the
so why isn't he? That's all I want. I've always liked him. My problem is he doesn't like himself. Clearly doesn't care about himself. I mean, he doesn't look he's not the same fighter he was. Get serious. Cut that weight. Grow your hair back out. Cut that weight. What's this weight on him? What happened to him? What happened? Where did he go when he just came back and said, fuck it? Am I lying about his attitude, about himself? Like, damn it, I want him to go to PFL and win a heavyweight title. That's all I want. That's it.
Go to Bellator and make a late push for
Wasn't he over there?
I believe so.
He's over there.
I believe so. Obviously, just a UFC heavyweight champion, but
if I'm not mistaken, he was over there.
The problem is he's fought from the UFC for so long.
Pretty sure he was over there, man.
Anyway,
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Yeah, we're going to close out another good show for the Weekend Warrior. A lot of combat sports action, still more to come this coming weekend. It's a good time. You do get some lulls in fighting with weeks where there isn't much to talk, there isn't much going on. This wasn't that. You got arguably one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Will never be the greatest of all time, though. I love you, Tyson Fury, but it's funny, Sean, isn't it? We hear these greatest of all time arguments and whatnot, and people just immediately forget about the guys that paved the way in sports. And I know that might be a too historical view of things. If that was the case, then Bill Russell would be the greatest basketball player of all time, or Babe Ruth in baseball, for what he called it. So it's like you don't. Sometimes you get lost in the history of a sport, and Muhammad Ali, what he did in the sport, some people like myself just get drawn to that because it's not only what he did, who he beat, the story he told and whatnot. And for me, that'll never be eclipsed. But perhaps sometimes when, it's hard for these modern guys who are still fighting to have an argument of being the greatest when their career isn't even over. We don't know if that was his last fight. He's definitely up there, isn't he, Tyson? You've got to say he's up there, but where you rank him is subjective.
Easy question. I gotta ask you. I mean, he's definitely one of the greatest, but where is he in relationship to Klitschko? Past him or right below him? He's wherever Klitschko was. Who beat Klitschko?
It's interesting.
Who beat him?
He beat Klitschko when Klitschko was the dominant champion, but
he took the throne.
Fury didn't dominate. He got to that point. He then beat Klitschko, but he didn't dominate on his way. He won every fight, but right. Klitschko did it for 10 years of dominating in title fights.
So he's right below Klitschko. Wherever you put Klitschko on the greatness street, he's right below Klitschko. He kind of has to be. He didn't do it for as long, but
then that's just going off of who he fought and it's like I always go back to Sugar Ray Leonard probably is the greatest fighter ever. If you're just going on what he did in the ring,
yep.
I take into account story, comebacks, adversity, all that, and I know that we're talking the greatest, but it's how you define great.
10-year story is better than Tyson Fury's however many years story. Like if you on top for 10 years, the only name that was there was Klitschko, and it was Klitschko and Mayweather. Like Klitschko actually faded away into obscurity because, well, he just had it, and that was it. I can't name a single damn person he fought other than Tyson Fury. My memory doesn't stretch back that far because for what? Who do I need to remember that was so great?
It's,
by the way, Strikeforce and one fighting championship is where Arlovsky fought.
Yeah, we knew Strikeforce.
Yeah, he fought Tim Sylvia over in one championship. So that's where the confusion and stuff would come from. Yeah, so I'm a little confused because I know he fought. Bellator is where a lot of ex UFC people go. So I thought it was there, but it was one championship where he fought. He fought Mike Hayes in another promotion, and he's been around so long, fought so many people that he's definitely no Klitschko though.
Well,
let's see him fight. Let's see Arlovsky fight. Tyson Fury or Tommy Fury or something like that. Damn, like trying to get people paid.
Let's end it like this. Eddie Hearn, on response to Tyson Fury, he's the best heavyweight on the planet. He could be a generational great, but with victories over Deontay Wilder, Vladimir Klitschko, and Dillian Whyte, please don't talk about him in the same breath as Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier.
Yeah, yep, got it.
But
he's right. He's absolutely right. I mean, you can't, respect is due, but yeah, that's right. I mean, that's fine. You can keep him. Mayweather isn't close to Sugar Ray Leonard. He's not close. A lot of people, but shut up. No, we're not going to do that.
Boxing purists would agree with that. Boxing, but those that watch boxing and some in ways, I would lean more towards the spectacle as well and the story. But as a boxing
purist, that's not to
purist,
take anything away. But basketball's changed too. The last good basketball, and you can see it in the numbers, just like with wrestling. The last good basketball were the Bulls. Ironically, that was like '98 Attitude Era. Same big thing for wrestling and basketball.
It's when you grew up through it, isn't it? It's your story with it.
And a little bit after that, like let's say 2005 is the cutoff point. Then nobody gave a shit about anything after 2005. Pretty much. I mean, after
2005, 2006, wrestling was still,
Yeah, I mean, I was the Ruthless Aggression era was great.
Cena,
I love the ruthless aggression. Yeah.
Edge, Cena. Oh,
I was still watching.
Triple H.
I was still watching basketball too. If we want to be real about it, it was probably more like 2010 when wrestling and the NBA.
Yeah, wrestling took
They
off.
got LeBron and they got John Cena. They went PG. They went PG and they were like,
Everything went PG.
Yep. They got, because LeBron was supposed to be the heir to Jordan's throne, just like Cena was supposed to be the modern day Hulk Hogan. In their own rights, they did succeed in doing that. But their comparison to them is what hurts their careers.
Well, we're going to finish up this episode and get right onto the basketball, and later on WWE Monday Night Raw comes up as well. But Sean, it's been another episode of the Weekend Warriors show. Good one, a lot of talking points. We'll be back next Monday. A little bit more of a different format again. We're going to be cutting down the time. We're going to get right into our points like we did. Hard to get Sean to cut down. He's got a lot of valuable things to say, but he has done well.
I'm going to just call some people a dirty bitch and leave it at that.
I will be cancelled in the next 2 weeks, but we'll see how things go on the Weekend Warrior show. But from myself and Sean, another episode in the bank, and we'll see you guys next Monday. Take care, guys.